Let's get it going, Bill.
Let's do it. Let's welcome Paul Domowitch back to Philly Pressbox Radio. Domo, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, Paul, not sure how often you've been to training camp this summer, but the reports are that Jalen Hurts has looked real good. He's moving around quite well. He's been very accurate with his throws. Is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, I'm secondhand. I haven't been out there, but everything I hear is that he's having a terrific camp. Hasn't thrown an interception in any team drills yet, which clearly, cutting down on the turnovers is going to be a top priority for him this year. So yeah, I mean, he looks slimmed down, faster, sleeker. I don't know if that means that they're going to take advantage of his running skills even more this year or not, but he does look better. And his, just in, what I've heard at camp, his decision making is better. Kellen Moore's got him throwing the ball, getting the ball out quicker. But we'll see. I mean, everything's conjecture until we get to week one.
Well, Paul, as Chet mentioned in the opening, the disastrous end of last season created a whole bunch of changes in that coaching staff. A lot more experienced guys. You mentioned Kellen Moore. How do you like, at least on paper, the guys they brought in versus the guys they let go? Were they just too young in the coordinator position last year?
I don't think so. At least, Brian Johnson, I had great respect for. I think he's going to be a terrific head coach someday. I just thought last year their problem offensively was kind of a bit of arrogance on Nick Sirianni's part coming out of that Super Bowl season. He thought they could do it all again. Same offense. He didn't seem to understand that the defensive coordinators were going to spend the offseason analyzing those guys, breaking them down, finding the weaknesses. And then they found quite a few. I mean, even in that 10-1 start, they did a lot of good things offensively, but you could see there were times, they struggled with the blitz. And that became a big factor in their collapse at the end. I mean, they just could not handle the blitz. So, I thought that was a bigger part of it than the fact that Brian Johnson just wasn't ready to be a coordinator. Defensively, that was just a mess with their coordinators, especially when they fired the first guy and put Matt Patricia in charge. I mean, that was, that would have gotten me fired if I had been Nick Sirianni and made that decision. Although, who knows, maybe Howie had something to do with it. I don't know, but. I think they're in good shape this year, though, regardless. I mean, Vic Fangio is one of the best defensive coordinators in football, and he's from the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton area, so you can't go wrong. And Kellen Moore, he's going to bring some versatility to that offense, motion. Even in the joint practices yesterday with New England, they were playing some two-back personnel packages. He's just going to mix it up a little bit more than they did last year offensively, with the personnel packages and motion, which is going to it's not going to make that offense as easy to read.
Well, as you mentioned, the Eagles are up in New England this week, joint practices ahead of the Thursday night preseason game. Are we going to see any of the starters on offense in the game, or is it going to be a no again this week, just like last week?
Yeah, I don't know, Chet. My guess would be a no, only because they used the joint practice yesterday as kind of that was the true experience for the starters. They played a lot. So I would think not. Maybe a series, but I doubt it. I think he'll keep the starters on the bench again.
Well, you mentioned Kellen Moore, and of course we have to talk about Saquon Barkley becoming an Eagle. Kellen Moore was pretty successful with Ezekiel Elliott in Dallas, used the crap out of him, I would say. But do you see the workload of Saquon Barkley being pretty great in this offense? There's so many weapons.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to work him to death, because, he signed a 3-year deal that is going to keep him here for at least 2 years. And they don't want to, use him up in 1 year. I think they'll, he's obviously going to be their main ball carrier. They're going to use him a lot in the passing game, but they've got two other terrific backs, Kenny Gainwell and the rookie that they drafted in the 4th round from Clemson. So, I think they're going to rotate those guys. They're all similar. Saquon's a little bit more powerful a runner than those two. And so, behind this line, I think we're going to see what, Saquon's capable of. And I think it's quite a bit. I just don't think they're going to, they're not going to overwork him. I don't think we're going to be looking at 25 carries a game kind of workload. They're going to, like I said, I think one of the reasons they went out and got him, I don't think was as much because of what he can do as a runner, but what he could, they see him, they need to use their running backs in the passing game this year, make them a bigger weapon, and give Jalen some options besides the two guys that he's got focused on last year, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I think they need to use Goddard a little bit more, especially on third down. And like I said, those running backs are going to be keys in the passing game this year.
Well, Paul, you mentioned the O-line. Jason Kelsey, of course, retired. Lane Johnson's another year older. There's a new guard. Can we still count on the O-line being one of the best in the league?
Well, you can at least going into week one, Chad. I'm concerned. I mean, Lane Johnson's still at the top of his game, but when you're 34, 35 years old, injuries are going to be a factor. And so I don't know if he can play 17 games. I don't know if he can play 14. We'll see. I hope he can because he's still, he's a Hall of Fame player. As far as, they're going to miss Jason. There's no question. I think Cam Jurgens is going to do a nice job at center, moving over from guard. Question is the people that are battling right now to replace him at right guard, Mekhi Becton and Tyler Steen. One of them is going to win that battle. It looks like right now Becton, who I would have never guessed would end up as their season opening starting right guard. I'm not a big believer in 6'7" interior linemen, but hey, I'm also a big believer that Jeff Stoutland can always figure out a solution to a problem. So I think that line's going to be, as long as it stays healthy, it's going to be pretty good. Howie went out and got some depth, because he knows what can happen with injuries. An offensive line that you thought could take you to a championship, can suddenly be, nothing. So they've got some depth. I think they'll be fine up there right now.
Over on the defensive side, obviously, that's a big concern to every Eagles fan after what we saw last year. Fletcher Cox is gone. The young Georgia kids are going to be starters. They're going to play a lot more reps. How do you see it lining up, and how do you like the new linebackers? You think there's actually some value there?
Yeah, I mean, I like Devin White. I know a lot of people were down on him. He was a Pro Bowl player a few years ago, and then it kind of got away from him. He's can be undisciplined sometimes. Hasn't been much of got benched late last season by Tampa Bay. So, but I think he's going to be a good player in Fangio's defense. Nakobe Dean's been getting some criticism. I still like him if he can stay healthy. And they've got some depth there now. Oren Burks, Zach Bond, who I thought was going to be basically an edge rusher. Now could end up right now looks like the second inside starting linebacker with White if they don't want to start Dean. So and then I love the heck out of Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I just don't know that he's ready to be I think what he's going to do mainly as a rookie is contribute on special teams, but I think he's got a great future ahead of him. I watched him play a lot at Clemson, and I think he's going to be a terrific player eventually. So
tell me more about Jeremiah. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. fell to the 5th round, which surprised a lot of people. He was one of the few standouts in that thrilling preseason game last week down in Baltimore. So what do you like about Trotter Jr.?
Well, he's a smart player. He doesn't have the big size that Jeremiah his dad did, but no linebackers in the NFL have that anymore. He's a great downhill player. Just reads holes real well. Good tackler, good blitzer. If there's the question they need answered is whether he can cover at this level. That's why I think mainly he fell to the 5th round. So, but I just like I like everything he does and has done. I mean, he got a chance to play last week and showed up. I mean, he flashed. So we'll see how it goes going forward, but I like his promise.
And along with that, how about the other rookie on defense, Quinyon Mitchell? He'd done a lot of talking, and sounds like the offensive guys seem to like playing against him. What do you see out of him so far?
Yeah, I mean, he's not intimidated at all by the NFL. Loves going up against AJ Brown in practice. He's aggressive. He seems to be able to read routes real well. We saw that last week when he almost intercepted that pass. In fact, he should have intercepted it. Went right out off his chest. The question with him right now is, where is he going to be playing? They've been, because of the fact that, Cooper DeJean has been out. They've got problems at safety that have forced Devontae Maddox to play at safety. They're kind of in a, right now, he's mainly, I mean, you want a first round pick to be your outside corner, not your nickel guy. But that's right now, he could be slotted at nickel if this, where they are now. But, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, if Avonte Maddox isn't needed at safety, which still is a big question mark, he'd be your starting slot guy, and that would allow Mitchell to move outside. But, they seem happy right now with Isaiah Rodgers outside. So I don't know. There's another guy that nobody ever talks about that I thought was going to end up being, competing for that slot job, and that was Tyler Hall, the guy they signed away from the Raiders. And, you hardly ever hear his name. I don't even know how many snaps he's getting in camp. But, they've got more depth than they had last year at cornerback, so that's a good thing. No matter where those guys play. I'm really anxious to see what Cooper DeJean can do once he's completely healthy. It looks like he started, with individual drills the other day, so it's just a matter of time before we get to see him in 11-on-11 stuff.
Paul, are you as surprised as I am that James Bradbury is still in the picture?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I guess they don't want to just cut him. They're hoping to get something for him, but I guess they figure some team might be desperate enough at some point here if they lose a corner, lose a safety, that they'd be interested in trading away a 6th-round pick for him. I don't know. I'm kind of mystified by why he's still here.
Hey, Paul, we had a week now where we could see the new kickoff rules in play for the first preseason game. Initial thoughts, and what does that do to your strategy?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, Bill. It just looks bad. It looks awkward. Nobody knows how it works. It's not making much of a difference so far. I haven't seen anybody run it back further than they were running it back under the old system. I understand everything about the kickoff return rule has been about preventing injuries, including this, this new setup. But just put make them wear the padded helmets that are becoming very fashionable these days in training camp. That'll cut down on concussions. I don't know why they don't wear them league wide. I guess you're going to be able to see teams and players wear them, once the season opens. They probably won't because they don't like to, they don't like the way it sounds when you hit a guy with a soft cushion on your helmet. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan of this, guys. I'll be, it may increase. It's going to increase returns, but it's not increasing big returns. So I don't know. And I think eventually here we're going to see teams just settle. Because of the fact that the touchback now is the 30-yard line, you're just going to see teams settle for that because starting a drive at the 30 is kind of nice. So,
yeah. Hey, well, we are just about 3 weeks away, 3 weeks from Friday from the start of the regular season. Yeah. The Eagles and Packers getting it going down in Brazil. How do you like that starting the season? You're losing a home game. You're playing in a foreign land. That's kind of a tough deal for the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, losing the home game is critical, especially when you're playing it in Brazil. I mean, it's nice for fans that are going to go down there, I guess. But from the team standpoint, there's no benefits. I can't believe Jeffrey Lurie was in favor of this. Every game's going to count this year, as far as you're going to need every win when you look at their schedule. The middle of it, you got a 7-game stretch where they play 5 road games, and now you're giving away a home game to play Green Bay in Brazil. So I don't, if I were them, I wouldn't like it at all.
Do you know, is there any magic to how these teams were selected? Did they volunteer, or is there some selection process? How's that work?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Bill. For a long time, the Eagles managed to dodge the European games in London. That kind of at the time told me that Jeffrey did not want to play over there. Jacksonville obviously got stuck playing there, and now it's their second home in London. But they basically just rotated after that, and I don't know. Maybe this is like the Eagles' penance for all those years of not having to play in London or Munich or Dusseldorf or wherever the heck they've been playing besides London. So I don't know, but like I said, I cannot imagine that you'd ever get, if you gave Jeffrey a lie detector, that you'd ever get him to say this is, he's really in favor of going down there in week 1, no less.
We talked about Jalen Hurts earlier. A huge season for him is, he's going to be in the spotlight. He was a near MVP 2 years ago, had the slide last year, not nearly as good. So all eyes will be on him. But who's gonna be the backup? I'm hearing Tanner McKee could sneak in and take the backup job away from Kenny Pickett. What's your take on that?
Boy, I'd be very shocked to see that happen. I mean, given what they traded away for Kenny Pickett, given the fact that Kenny Pickett's got, 24 games of starting experience, I don't think there's any question that it'll end up being Pickett as the backup.
Yeah, the other guy that I really like is A.J. Brown. Is it time for, I guess every year has been a great year for him, probably. Is it time for a really breakout year? Is it time for the 1,800-yard season and a whole pile of touchdowns?
I don't know how that's going to work this year, Bill. They've got so many weapons. Jalen's got so many guys to throw to. I thought the biggest problem last year, besides their problems handling the blitz down the stretch there when they lost 6 of 7, including the playoff game to Tampa Bay, was that he became too focused on AJ and Devontae Smith, especially on the deep ball. Teams basically dared him to throw it, and he did. I think this year in Kellen Moore's offense, you're going to see a better distribution plan. Like I said, I think you're going to see more balls to Goddard. I think you're going to see a lot of, Grant Calcaterra. Don't count him out as, we don't know how much they're going to use 2 tight ends, 2 running backs. Last year with Nick, it kind of became, we're going to play 3 wides and you try to stop us, and teams did. I think this year we're going to see much more of a mixture of personnel packages. They'll put Gainwell and Saquon out there in a 2-back package, and then split one of them out wide. I mean, we've been seeing in practice and even in the joint practice yesterday what Saquon can do as a receiver, running wheel routes and things like that. He's been beating linebackers and safeties. I think we're going to see a better distribution. So I think that probably lessens the chances of A.J. Brown having a record-breaking year. I mean, he's going to have 1,000 receiving yards. He's probably going to have 90 catches. I just think, you're going to see it. The ball, it's going to be kind of, what they give you. Nobody ever likes that line when a coach talks about, what they give us is what we're going to take. Well, I think that's what you're going to see from this offense this year.
I know we're still 23 days away from the start of the regular season, but I'm going to ask you for a prediction anyway. The Cowboys had a pretty lackluster or bad offseason. Still don't know what's going to happen with CeeDee Lamb. The Giants are a mess. Washington may have gotten a little better. The Eagles look like they should win the East. What's your prediction? How many wins?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll win the East, Chet. If I had to guess right now, I mean, I think 11-6 is what they're going to end up at. Like I said earlier, they face a challenging middle of the schedule area there where They play 5 out of 7 on the road and starting in mid-October. A lot of those games are not going to be easy. I mean, we're talking Cincinnati on the road, Cowboys on the road, the Rams on the road, the Ravens on the road. So I would not be surprised to see them lose 3 of those 5 road games. And then you got to figure they're going to lose a couple more somewhere along the line. 11-6 is going to get them the division and probably keep them in contention for the number 1 seed. So that'd be my guess right now if I had to pick a record.
There you go. Well, hey, Damo, we're about out of time. Before we go, let the viewers know where they can follow you on all your social medias and things you got going on.
Well, I'm kind of quiet right now, Bill. I took a leave of absence from the 33rd team. I'm working on a book on Sam Mills, so that's going to take me through the season this year. So, they can read me. They can catch me on Twitter. I got a radio show that I do with Paul Jolovitz up in Conshohocken on Monday nights during the season at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. So anybody's love to see anybody come up there. We have a lot of terrific guests, and so that's mainly what I'm going to be doing this season.
That's cool. I'm glad you're doing that. There's a great story there to be had, and a lot of people don't know much about it.
Yeah, he's an incredible story. I mean, a 5'9" linebacker that nobody gave a shot to. No Division I offers, cut by the Browns and the CFL. The USFL gives him a life raft, and the rest is history. I mean, he becomes a Hall of Fame player with the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers.
Awesome.
Keep us posted on that for sure. Hey, I want to sneak in one more question, Damo. Nick
Sure.
Foles retired last week. I know you commented on that. You covered his career, of course. He's already got the statue outside the stadium, but now some people think the Eagles should retire his number 9. I don't think so. What do you say?
Yeah, that's a stretch, Chet. I think they should put him in the Eagles Hall of Fame. I don't think that's a question of what he's meant to that team with the Super Bowl and the start to his career when he led the league in passer rating. But no, I would not retire his uniform. They haven't retired Jaworski's. They haven't retired a lot of guys. That'd be a little bit too much.
Yep.
I agree too. How about that?
There you go.
Damo, appreciate you joining us. Let's do it again. And when that book gets rolling, jump on anytime and talk to us. Tell us about it.
I appreciate that, guys.